IELTS examiners notice there are plenty of candidates who bring template or scripts with them in the actual examination. How do they know that it's memorized? Keep it simple in the beginning of the paragraph so that you won't be accused of memorizing. Welcome back! If you've watched our previous videos, we've mentioned that it is not a matter of opinion, but it is an admitted matter that yes, IELTS candidates, Filipinos included, usually get lower grades in writing task 1 as compared to writing task 2. Why? Maybe because they are told that task 1 is 33% of their grade, task 2 is 66% of their grade. They focus so much on writing task 2 without realizing that it's actually writing task 1 pulling them down. That is why you're not supposed to leave writing task 1 behind. Because even if you get a good grade for writing task 1, but this is your grade for writing task, or not, rather, if this is your grade for task 2, and then this is your grade for task 1, still, you cannot get the required band score. So please, you have to equally focus on writing task 1. So what are we going to do in the next maybe 20 minutes or 25 minutes? We're going to assess this output that was submitted to us by our reviewee. We're going to explain why it's wrong. So, what is writing task 1, Sir Pheelyp?
This is where the candidate is asked to make a report regarding graphical information that is presented to him. There are two kinds. Either you get static or process. Static comes or is data that comes in the form of bar graphs, pie charts, line graphs, and tables in which you get numerical data to interpret. On the other hand, processes are where you get things that move. For example, cycles or maps in which it's more of pictures that you have to present.
Okay, so without further ado, let's take a look at the task description right here. The chart and graph below give information on in-house training courses in a large financial company. So there is a pie chart reflecting training hours per year, and then there is a bar graph showing the attitude towards training of office workers, managers, and secretaries. So let's begin with the introduction. Okay, Sir Pheelyp, will you please do the honor?
The informations on the diagrams below explicitly exhibit data about in-house training courses in a large financial company.
Okay, let's begin with informations. What's your comment on the word informations?
Wow, so many. Information is a word, it's a collective noun that is supposed to not have an S.
Yes, okay. Words like equipment, deer, furniture, sheep, fish, food. You're not supposed to add S or ES to these words, okay? So, the information, that's enough, okay? What about diagrams? Did you see diagrams earlier?
I believe I did. It's copy-paste, and it's an easy word that you're supposed to paraphrase. A better word could have been the illustrations, perhaps. So this is one common thing that we tell our students. If it's diagrams, say illustrations. If it's illustrations, say diagrams. Because you just have to paraphrase it once anyway.
Okay, hold on. On the diagram, what is the implication if it's on? Okay, it's on top. Or on top of the table. Okay, the laptop is on top of the table. So instead of writing on the pie chart, on the table, what is the proper preposition for us to use?
In.
Okay, it's in. Then, the word below is always expected in the task description. But the word below must never be present in the introduction. Why? Because imagine, if you write the word below in your introduction, that means, see, you have to fulfill your promise of making a diagram, a pie chart, or a bar graph after your intro. Apparently, you don't have space on your answer sheet to make a diagram, a bar graph, or a pie chart. So, the word below must not be included as part of the intro. And then, going back to the task description, in-house training courses in a large financial company. Introduction, exactly the same words. You're supposed to paraphrase, not just copy the words. Okay? Now let's move on to the overview. Sir Pheelyp, please read the wrong overview.
After a careful analysis of the graphs, one can undeniably surmise that interpersonal skills is in first place with 30%, and both consider training as important for job at more than 80%.
Okay, so IELTS examiners notice there are plenty of candidates who bring template or scripts with them in the actual examination. How do they know that it's memorized? Because apparently the first line is so fancy. And then for the remainder of the paragraph or the remainder of the sentence, the English is fractured already. So the suggestion of IELTS examiners, keep it simple in the beginning of the paragraph so that you won't be accused of memorizing. Now, one can undeniably surmise. What's wrong with surmised there?
It's supposed to be surmise.
In the present tense because
it is not in the past. There is no time element.
That's right. So you're only going to use past tense in the overview and in the specific details if there is a time element. But if there is no time element, intro, overview, specific details, all of them must be in the present tense. Okay.
In addition, the surmising is not something that happened in the past, but it's happening right now.
Yes.
Yeah. So definitely in the present tense.
Okay, so interpersonal skills in first place. Why were we laughing earlier? It's not as if this is a contest or a beauty pageant or a race, okay? No one wins, no one loses. We're dealing with the data. We're dealing with the statistics. I mean, well, this is not scripted.
Yeah.
And yeah, all of our videos have been like one take only. This is so candid.
Sorry.
Okay, so with 30%, more than 80%. What's wrong with these in the overview?
That is a level of detail that is not supposed to appear in the overview.
Yes.
This properly belongs in the succeeding paragraphs where you go into more detail, more specific details.
Okay, so for the overview, no statistical figures. You can't mention 30%, you can't mention 80%. Okay? So, for this overview, it says, both consider training as important for a job. But in the first place, you did not even mention what types of office workers we have. You have to indicate first the managers, the secretaries, before you replace managers and secretaries with the word both. Okay? Let's move on now to the specific details. Okay? For the pie chart.
For training hours per year, technical garnered 30%. Next is health history at 15%, while interpersonal skills is 10%. In last place is health history with only 5%. For sure, it means to say that the large financial company did not prioritize health. They find other things more important.
Okay. There are a lot of errors packed together in one paragraph. Let's begin with the word garnered. Okay? Garnered is not something encouraged in writing task 1. Why? When are you supposed to use the term garnered? Say, for instance, garnering an average score of 98%. The overall champion is...
Yeah.
It's like you were able to get a specific score or a percentage. But in this case, we're dealing with a pie chart. So it's not as if technical garnered 30%. Technical did not earn that 30% right there. And then, what about the next sentence?
Next is health history at 15%.
According to IELTS examiners, this is the lazy man's way of constructing a sentence. You don't just say, next, health history 15%, while interpersonal skills 10%. Again, you're supposed to avoid short, choppy sentences. And then, what's wrong with while interpersonal skills is 10%?
While is a conjunction, that making it a dependent clause that should be connected to an independent clause. So again, this is something that properly belongs to a longer sentence.
In last place is health history. Going back to our argument earlier, we're not dealing with ranking in writing task 1. This is not a race, this is not a contest. You're supposed to present the figures in an objective manner, and you have to compare data. You don't just enumerate 30%, 15%, 10%, 5%. It's not done that way. So 15% is half of the former figure. Something like that.
Indeed.
You have to compare figures in writing task 1. And then, what about the last 2 sentences for this paragraph? For sure, it means to say that the large financial company did not prioritize health. They find other things more important. How can you be so sure?
I know. This is not writing task 2. Writing in which your opinion is what is supposed to be at the forefront. Writing task 1 is supposed to be dry, clinical, colorless, lifeless. So no flagrant opinions like this.
So, writing task 1, objective. You're not involved. What you see is what you write, nothing more, nothing less. Writing task 2, subjective. This is when you share your opinion. So have you ever wondered why you're supposed to write 2 outputs in writing? That's because one requires your opinion, while the other one does not allow your opinion. Okay, so let's move on to the paragraph for the bar graph. Okay, Sir Pheelyp.
On the other hand, the bar graph shows the ranking of attitudes to training. The number of managers and secretaries who believe that training is important for job is more than 80%.
Okay, I think we have to mention the errors right now. On the other hand, that is a connective acceptable in writing task 2. But you can't use on the other hand in writing task 1. Why? What's the explanation of IELTS examiners? When you say on the other hand, you're presenting the other side of the story, the other side of the argument. In this case, there are no arguments, there are no stories. So instead of writing on the other hand, the bar graph, it is better to write as for the bar graph, it shows, okay. And then here, ranking of attitudes. Well, attitudes are not humans, they are not countries. They don't compete with each other. So you're not supposed to rank these attitudes. And then, the number of managers and secretaries. If you go back to the bar graph, you won't see any number. Because what do you see there? Percentage. Numbers are not percentage, and percentage rates are not numbers. So what's an example of number? 500, 1,000, 1 billion. What's an example of percentage? 1% all the way to 100%. So be careful. You cannot use the word number when you're pertaining to a percentage. Okay? Something more?
In addition, when you say more than 80%, it's too imprecise because when you think about it, well, what is more than 80%? 90% is more than 80%.
Yeah.
120% is more than 80%. That proceeds up to infinity.
Yeah.
So it is better for you to approximate perhaps how much beyond 80% the value actually is.
So what are the terms that we recommend our students to use? Approximately, around, about, almost, nearly, roughly.
More or less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, followed by good excuse for a change, 60% for secretary, 20% for manager. What about that?
First of all, this is a fragment because followed by is a dependent clause.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's no subject right there. Okay. Well, better if you're right. It is followed by, but like what we say in class, it's not supposed to be an enumeration.
Indeed.
You have to compare the figures because if you're not able to do that, then you don't expect at least 7 for task achievement. So the last 2 or 3 sentences perhaps.
However, good for networking shows the opposite trend. Secretary decreased to 40%, while manager is increased to 60%.
Okay. You use the words decrease and increase if you have 2 time elements. Like from 1990 to 1995, the number increased, the figure decreased. But in this case, you're just dealing with a bar graph, no time element even. So why use increase and decrease? It's totally inappropriate in the context of that bar graph.
Because nothing is moving here.
Exactly. You're just comparing the attitudes, but the figures don't go up and down. Okay? What about the last sentence?
Waste of valuable time is not a favorite of both manager and secretary, only 10%.
How do you know that it's a favorite and not a favorite?
Are you close? Or do you text each other, perhaps? So this is another way of misinterpreting the data in your graphs. Please, none of this.
And after that paragraph, this is the end of the writing task.
There is no need for that. There's no need for that.
You're not waste. You have arrived at your destination. Okay? So, writing task 1, intro, overview, specific details. That's it. You're not required to write something like that towards the end because you've already mentioned the overview, the general trend, before you went to the specific details. This might be long enough, 184 words, but just because it's long doesn't mean you will pass the examination. So, perhaps what grade are we going to give this output if this was submitted in the actual examination?
Definitely less than 6.
Yeah.
There are too many errors. There are consistent errors. There's systemic errors. They repeat. So, and the meaning of the graph was misinterpreted and twisted. Somebody who reads this report would be unable to visualize in their head what the diagrams actually look like, which defeats the purpose of the document.
So, for task achievement, this one is opinionated, no comparison of figures, just enumeration of figures. And then, for coherence and cohesion, there are connective words that are not allowed in writing task 1, like however. On the other hand, those are better connective words in writing task 2, but they don't deserve a place in writing task 1. So, well, that's roughly 20 to 25 minutes, maybe. I wouldn't know because this is just one day. So imagine if in a short period of time, 20 to 25 minutes, you've learned a lot. I suppose they are learning a lot.
Indeed.
How much more if you encounter us as your lecturers, like literally every single day and exposed to our one-on-one coaching.
Yes.
So now you understand why one-on-one is very important because not everyone commits exactly the same mistakes.
In addition, during your coaching sessions, of course, we would not be talking about all of your mistakes because it's important to prioritize which mistakes are most impactful to your grade. For example, between misusing prepositions versus twisting the meaning of the graphs, the latter is what we're going to focus on so that you have clear goals to improve on, clear metrics to improve on for your next coaching. Coaching is meant to be a regular exercise, not a one-time, big-time thing, not something that you do a few days before your examination, as if by some miracle you can improve in one sitting. But it's meant to be a lengthy process in order for you to have slow, gradual, but incontrovertible progress in your skills. So please do consider having extended coaching day after day perhaps or whenever you're free so that you would improve in your performance.
So before we end this video, I just would like to invite you to download our free app. So we're available on App Store and Google Play. All you have to do is to search for 9.09er IELTS OET PTE. And then we're going to launch our TOEFL program soon. So that's something to look forward to. Again, thank you for your time.
And I'd like to mention that the student, Patricia San Diego, who submitted her letter earlier for OET coaching, although her letter had lots of errors, this was the first one that she sent. After merely 4 days of having OET coaching, she was able to integrate the advice that we offered her, such that at the end of her training, she was able to consistently produce quality letters that we are confident would be more than enough in order to let her get the grade that she needs. So this is good news to everybody who initially may commit lots of mistakes. Mistakes are good. You're meant to do them. And that is the purpose of preparation centers like Niner, for you to have a space to make these mistakes so that you could learn from them and not make them anymore during the test. Congratulations, Patricia San Diego. Your hard work more than paid off. Thank you for letting us use your work as inspiration for everybody else who may be struggling with this difficult part of the test. If she can do it, guys, then so can you.
If you found this video helpful, then subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on our social media pages. And see you in future videos. Thank you for watching.